once again, giving all praises to
Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakaha Kodash.
So, we'll jump right into it. Can you get Ecclesiasticus 11 and 27, and then we'll see where the Spirit takes us.
This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 11, verse 27. It says, "The affliction of an hour maketh the man forget pleasure, and in his end his deed shall be discovered. Judge none blessed."
Read it again, please.
Again, it's Ecclesiasticus 11 and 27. It says, "The affliction of an hour maketh a man forget pleasure."
Yeah, the affliction of an hour maketh a man forget pleasure. And you can say that that's the predicament that we're in as a people, because we've been in captivity for years and years in America. You know what I'm saying? And just because, you know, they sign a bill like the Emancipation Proclamation doesn't mean that we have our freedom. You know, we still have to have social security numbers, you know, stuff like that, adhesion contracts. Also, you know, you got to pay taxes, which that's like the top form of being like a slave. You got to pay taxes.
You got to pay tribute to someone else. Again, "The affliction of an hour maketh the man forget pleasure, and in his end his deed shall be discovered."
Yeah, in his end, his deed shall be discovered. So, for the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, our latter end is going to be greatness. It's going to be freedom. It's going to be harmony, peace. So we just got to go through that fire first before we reach greatness. That's it.
That was a pointer. Keep
Yeah, that's the one. You got a precept?
This is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 9. So let me see if there's more on there. I'll start at the 6th verse. I'll read fast. This is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6. It says, "Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of the Most High, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." This is the point. It says, "Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world." So all this hell that we catch, it's not like it's personal. We all going through something. You know, we all got a story to tell. It says, "But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Yahushua, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle." That's it on that. Another one. This is John 16 and 33. I'll start at 30. It says, "Now are we sure that thou knowest all things, and needest not that any man should ask thee?" It says, "By this we believe that thou camest from the Most High." Yahushua answered them, Do ye now believe? Behold, the hour cometh, is now come, that ye shall be scattered, every man to his own.
Yeah. Because that's a big deal, you know, having that faith and believing in Yahweh Shai. So not everybody's going to be a believer, even if they are of your own race. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's a good thing to get around like-minded people. You know, the scriptures say that like seeketh like, you know, birds of a feather flock together. So whatever you're on, you should have friends or brothers that's on the same thing that you're on, and it works out better that way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because then there'll be less strife. You'll have less confliction within your spirit. You know?
Steel sharpens steel.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron.
It says, behold, the hour cometh, yea, is now come, that ye shall be scattered, every man to his own, and shall leave me alone, and yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer.
Yeah, be a good cheer.
It says, I have overcome the world. And that's our hope, you know, to overcome the world. We just waiting on Yahweh to send his son, Yahweh, to come save us out of this mess.
Exactly. Because we don't want to stay here. We want to get the hell out of here, man.
Really?
Like, fuck this shit. We're not really living. Remember what I told you yesterday? You can't kill what's already dead. You know what I'm saying? So we got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Got a reason?
Let's see. John 11 and 50. St. John 11 and 50.
This is John chapter 11, verse 50. It says, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not.
Yeah, nor consider that it's expedient for us that one man should die. So that one man is Yahweh, and he died for the nation of Israel. So I know the Christians like to say that he died for everybody and stuff like that, you know, universal salvation. But the truth is, the people on the sign right here are the ones that need the most saving. You know, I was thinking about it today. I was like, if we come up into power and the world's going to be perfect for us, then it's going to be perfect for everybody else when you come to think of it. You know what I'm saying? But there's going to be like an order. We're going to have indentured servants. You know, we're going to have slaves. But it's not going to be such a bad thing, because you're practically already a financial slave anyway under the capitalist system. You work, you pay bills, all your money goes towards bills and your rent. So it's like with us, when we come into power, you're going to have to work, but you're going to have a place to live.
It'll be done in righteousness.
You're going to have your own house, your own living quarters, and eventually you'll even get put back in your own land.
Right.
But you're going to have to be under our thumb, pay tribute to us. And it's not going to be such a bad thing.
You're already paying tribute to Esau.
Yeah, you just got to do it to us.
Yeah. At least we'll be doing it in righteousness. We're not going to bleed you dry and leave you with nothing.
You know what I'm saying? Because naturally, Jake has, you know, a merciful heart.
That was the point, or
it's not like it's gonna be like complete hell for all the nations. We're just gonna be, you know, beating their heads in 24/7. Like,
just Esau.
Well, yeah, just Esau.
Just Esau.
Of course, Esau.
Worst thing you could be is an Edomite.
I wouldn't want to be an Edomite for all the money in the world.
Right.
Because he's the reason why this earth is fucked up anyway. So he's gonna have to pay for that. I was watching a documentary about the DuPonts, and they said how they're the ones who contaminated the entire world. And they came out with
Teflon.
Yeah, Teflon. And they had chemists, you know, trying to develop, you know, products for like the military at the time, because they was going through like World War II. So they stumbled across some type of chemical compound that couldn't erode. You could put water on it, heat, acid, and it was like a powder substance, and it couldn't erode. I didn't get that far in the documentary, but eventually they industrialized what they stumbled across.
Yep.
They started using it on pots and pans and shit like that.
Yep. They even put it in clothing.
And then that messes with the environment. It's not eco-friendly. And they even tested this guy's blood, and he had the forever chemical in his blood.
We all have it.
Yeah, we all do.
Trace amounts.
So that's on Esau.
1 John chapter 4 verse, I'll start at the top. It says, Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out in the world. It says, hereby know ye the spirit of the Most High. Every spirit that confesseth that Yahushua is come in the flesh is of the Most High. And every spirit that confesseth not that Yahushua is come in the flesh is not of the Most High. It says, and this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. It says, ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world.
Yeah, because we really get like our motivation and our power to continue from the truth and the Holy Spirit. So we use that energy and we channel it to help us continue through this fight, because it's like an everyday fight. You know what I'm saying? Each day presents its own problems. One day turns into a week turns into 2 weeks, and then the next thing you know, a month went by.
But really, in this faith, like, we're really in a better position than most of the world when you really think about it. Whether even the rich, like, they don't have this knowledge. And we knows what comes with this, especially if you're of the elect. But even if you're an Israelite that's not in the right spirit, you still win in the end.
Yeah, big picture wise, we're up.
Right, we can't lose, really.
It may not seem like it because you're going through tribulation in the moment. But like I said before, we got glorious days coming.
It's faith that pays dividends.
Get it on the back ends.
1 John 4 and 5, it says, they are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. It says, we are of the Most High. He that knoweth the Most High heareth us. He that is not of the Most High heareth not us. Hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. Beloved, let us...
The spirit of truth and the spirit of error, because in order to appreciate righteousness, you have to deal with wickedness. You got to go through that.
Anything. In order to know the truth, you got to know a lie. In order to know a lie, you got to know the truth.
Yeah, man.
It says, hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of the Most High. And everyone that loveth is born of the Most High and knoweth the Most High.
All right, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Get Isaiah 40 and 29. Let's read that.
There's Isaiah 40 and 29. It says, he giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might. He increaseth strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord Yahweh shall renew their strength.
Yeah, they that wait on the Most High shall renew their strength. Because we're just really dying slowly in these bodies.
Day by day.
We have to deal with aging. We have to deal with ailments, being sick. You know what I'm saying? And that really wasn't the way that it was supposed to be for us in the beginning. If you look back at Adam and Eve and that story, and Noah, they lived to like 500 years old, 400 years old. They didn't have to worry about dying young. Where it's like the average lifespan now, what, 70, 75.
For a man, yeah, I believe women longer than that.
But that's like your latter days. Those ain't even your good years.
Right? You just living at, you just alive at that point. You just here, but you know what I'm saying? Lord will, at that age, you can still have your faculties.
Yeah, you can see, you can walk.
You use the bathroom on your own. Isaiah 40:31. It says, "But they that wait upon the Lord Yahweh shall renew their strength.
Yeah, we're gonna get our strength
They shall mount up with wings as eagles."
and then more. We're gonna be able to have superpowers. We're gonna be able to fly. We're gonna be able to shoot fire out of our hands, laser beams out of our eyes, stuff like that. That's where Hollywood draws their inspiration from the scriptures.
Go to other planets. Like, there's nothing that we won't be able to do.
We're gonna be like Superman, basically. We're gonna have powers like the X-Men.
It says, "Mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint."
You run and not be weary, walk and not be. What did it say? Faint.
Right.
Yeah. So we're not even gonna be able to get tired. You know how now, like, Jake displays their greatness on levels of like sports, but it's like picture that to the 10th power times 10. You know what I'm saying? Every Israelite's gonna have superpowers. Every Israelite's gonna be strong.
This is Philippians chapter 3, verse 21. It says, "Who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able, even to subdue all things unto himself."
He subdue all things to himself. You know how Yahweh Shai turned water into wine? The scriptures say how he performed many miracles that you can't even put all of them into a book. So that sounds like superpowers to me.
Precept.
Let me see. John, St. John 21:25.
This is John chapter 21, verse 25. It says, "And there are also many other things which Yahweh Shai did, the which, if they should be written, every one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that should be written." Amen.
So, get the scripture where it says we're going to join heirs.
This is Romans chapter 8, verse 16. It says, "The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. And if children, then heirs, heirs of the Most High, and joint heirs with Yahushua."
Joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. So whatever he had, whatever he's going to have in the future, we're going to be able to have that as well. You know, it's not going to be like how it is in this society today, where you'll have like a 1% of Jake that have money, they're rich, and then you got the other Jakes, other Israelites that are on the bottom. It's not gonna be like that in the kingdom. You know,
Every man for himself.
Yeah, every Israelite is gonna be blessed. They're gonna have something to call their own.
Have forever to enjoy it. That's the best part. It says, and if children, then heirs, heirs of the Most High, and joint heirs with Yahushua. if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together.
Yep. So the same way Yahweh Shai suffered, he had to go on the cross. You know, we have to carry our cross as well, metaphorically. You know, every day we carry our cross. You know, you catch hell in this society. You're tired of living your life this way, and you just want things to change. So you know that's you carrying your cross on a daily basis.
Struggle for the shine. 18th verse. It says, "For I reckon that the suffering of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us."
Yeah. You got a piece of it?
Yeah, this is Galatians chapter 2, verse 20. It says, start at 19. It says, "For I through the law am dead to the law, that I might live unto the Most High. I am crucified with Yahushua. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Yahushua liveth in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of the Most High, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not frustrate the grace of the Most High, for if the righteousness come by the law, then Yahushua is dead in vain."
So basically, Paul is recognizing the balance between keeping the law and being under grace, and also having the faith in Yahweh. Because we're not saved by the law. Because if we were to be saved by the law, then none of us would make it. Because we can't keep the law perfectly.
Right.
We've proven that time and time again. Which that's the whole point of the new covenant. You know, when we're under the new covenant, we're gonna have new bodies. We're gonna be perfected, and we're not gonna break the law no more. So all this about keeping the law, and keeping it perfectly. You know, you don't sin. You know, you're really just deceiving yourself.
Right.
You gotta remember, we're in captivity, Jake.
Being over righteous. I'm gonna read the 20th verse again. It says, "I am crucified with Yahushua. Nevertheless I live. Yet not I, but Yahushua liveth in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of the Most High, who loved me and gave himself for me." You see, Apostle Paul said, "I am crucified with Yahushua. Nevertheless I live." You see, because he's bearing his cross in the flesh. You know, Yahushua was actually pinned up on the cross, but yeah, the Apostle Paul is just going through his tribulation here on the world.
Yeah, he's right. He's sitting there writing them epistles and letters. He's stressing, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He wants the kingdom as bad as we want it now. He wanted it then.
Right. The Apostle Paul, he's here today.
Yeah, but we don't know who he is, because
Right.
reincarnation is in the scriptures. You know, regeneration.
This is Proverbs chapter 3. I'll start at 5. It says, "Trust in the Lord Yahweh with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding." It says, "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." You see, that's why people are so just like, that's not in the faith, that you just out here in the world. That's why they're so bugged out, because they don't have no direction really.
That's why they concerned and focused on P. Diddy's trial,
Right.
because that's a distraction.
Trying to climb the socioeconomic ladder.
Megan Thee Stallion lying on Tory Lanez.
Right.
Everybody's talking about that. All this celebrity stuff, right? Meanwhile, there's stuff going on in the real world,
Right.
in geopolitical politics.
You ask a random person to break, yeah, what's a tariff? They won't know. You would hope you would think they would know, but I don't think they would. I'm gonna ask the next person walk by.
Yeah, and you got all these people getting laid off left and right because of these tariffs. I heard Walmart's said that they're gonna raise their prices because of the
That's
tariffs.
That's everywhere. It ain't just Walmart.
Yeah. And so everything's about to go up in price. Whether it be 10% or, more. So these tariffs, the damage is already done. You basically build all that shit for no reason with the tariffs. He didn't accomplish anything because guess what? Manufacturers not coming back to the U.S. ever. No companies want to come back. You pretty much just put tariffs on the American people because they're the ones who have to pay it. It's a tax on the people. So what was it for?
To collapse the economy, bringing that CBDC system.
Exactly. I think that it's gonna speed that up, that process.
Naturally.
Collapsing the economy. You seen the video I did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first is gonna be the CBDC that gets rolled out, which is like the software. You know what I'm saying? It's like blockchain. And then they're gonna come out with the MOTB, which is the physical implementation of micro CM.
That's how I see it going down. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. It says, "There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it."
Look up that word temptation. I was reading it the other day. That word.
An experiment, attempt, trial,
because
proving.
I like that word experiment.
Right, your word.
So we gotta escape this experiment because America's the greatest experiment ever on earth.
Real.
That's basically what this is. It's an experiment. We're in like a pressure cooking environment, and at least we're just seeing how much, trauma and tribulation that we can take. And that's why they've done their best to dumb down the masses of people, so that they don't rebel, so that they think that this is normal how we live in this society. Like what's normal about, going to school and getting indoctrinated in Esau's education system, and you don't even really have like the tools for life. You know what I mean? Like, what's normal about that?
It's a joke. Here it is, you got this degree, but now you leaving with 5 figures worth of debt. And now, like everybody does, as you climb up the socioeconomic ladder, you make more money. Now you're spending more money. So now you're not better off than you was. You're still in a fucked up predicament.
You lose points trying to gain points.
Right. Now you got to go get that new car. Now you got a car payment. Now you got to go get a new apartment. You want a luxury apartment. You're making more money now. It's like you're in no better position.
Yeah. So this society teaches you how to be
a consumer.
Yeah, a consumer and a follower. It doesn't teach you how to be a leader. That's really the whole point of capitalism, so that you're reliant on this system. If we was, able to do our own thing and this government was laissez-faire, we would be better off. Just think.
That's why we need the kingdom.
We would be able to live off the land. We wouldn't have to worry about, paying taxes, going grocery shopping like that, working a job. You'd be working for yourself essentially. You know what I'm saying? And in the old days, you had a trade, you had a skill, there was a barter system. If it worked then, why doesn't it work now? Why couldn't it? Now we're under this man's fiat currency system where they just print the dollar by the day. And we see how that's working.
All day, non-stop. That printing press going 24/7.
Devaluing the currency. Now you got to make more to try to stay afloat. But what's going to happen when, it becomes that improper balance, which it already has become an improper balance with the inflation. You know what I'm saying? The cost of living is going up, but yet your wages are staying the same, stagnant. So how are you ever going to get ahead?
You gotta go get a second and third job.
Yep. And then interest rates, they've gone up over the years. Now they're coming back down a little bit. But what difference do it make at this point?
Yeah, this shit is through anyway.
People already ran it up with the debt. I heard that this is like the highest ever of like credit card delinquency. People just maxed out their credit cards and they just forgetting about it. Like, yo, I'm never gonna be able to pay it off.
That's crazy. But see, that goes to show you, it's a debt-based system. That Esau got you right where he wants you when you're in that situation. Cause now you're just a slave. Like, you working so hard, you done ran up a fucking credit card and you're not even paying the balance off. You're not even paying off the principal. You make a payment and it's like, did you really make a debt in it? I'm telling you, like, this, once you really understand what's going on, like, this shit is really a joke. Everybody is just caught in the rat race. Everybody is getting finessed. I don't care, even if you on the top. So a little bit more. It's 1 Corinthians 10 and 14.
Might not be just a bad idea. Run it up on credit.
Your shit is over with.
Max out your credit card, Esau.
It says, wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. I speak as to wise men. Judge ye what I say. Nah, that's the point. You got a precept?
Habakkuk 2 and 6.
This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 6. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, shall they not rise up suddenly?
So when you look up that word clay in the Hebrew, it translates to debt. So essentially, what the scripture is saying is, how long is a debt-based system, or people that predicate the system on debt, how long are they going to continue? You know what I'm saying? Because inevitably they're going to fall, they're going to collapse.
Right.
And that's what we're facing today. That's what we're up against, is the collapse of this system. And personally, I think that it's going to be a controlled collapse, which is why I think that they're coming out with the tariffs. They want to control the collapse of this economy because they know what's next. They want to bring in their new digital currency system.
NWO.
Because that's like the ultimate control.
Right,
That's like the elitist dream.
Right, tracking all your purchases, where you at, everything.
You'll never be able to get away from paying taxes. People aren't going to be able to commit fraud and steal really like that anymore.
No more shoebox money.
Yeah.
That under the mattress money. Anything you got, Esau gonna know what you got.
And it starts like this. You see how they came out with Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. They're saying that their goal is to cut back on government spending and correct mistakes and crack down on fraud. But that's how it starts, like I said. And then next they're gonna want even more control, which is gonna be under the MOTP system.
I'm gonna read it again, but in the NLT. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 6. It says, but soon their captives will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, what sorrow awaits you thieves? Now you will get what you deserve. You will become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on?
Yeah, that's exactly how we live in. We're like pretty much being extorted. You gotta pay taxes. You gotta to get ahead in this world. You gotta take out a loan. Like you said, you want a car. You gotta get a car note.
Yo,
And that car note's stacked up on other bills that you have. You gotta pay to live. You gotta pay to eat.
yo. So it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep.
Exactly.
And with this system and how everything's going up, rent prices, everything, inflation, everything is going up. So you're really not really gonna be left with much, especially if you already don't have much.
That's why a lot of people are fleeing America.
Smart.
They're just going back to their countries. You know?
America's a joke. It was the biggest scam told to people.
And I heard that it costs like $5,000 to renounce your citizenship in the U.S. I wonder why. You know, America it's like a place to keep you trapped. You know, people come here under the pretense of they're gonna make money, they're gonna build a future, they're gonna have a good family structure. But once they get here, they realize that it's hard living here. It's hard to balance that because what? You gotta get a job, work full time, and then what time do you have to cultivate your family or your skills or your passion? You know, you give all your energy to working for a company, a job under this capitalist system. So again, it goes back to how these school systems taught you how to be a follower and not a leader. They taught you how to be a servant. See, in our world to come, the kingdom of heaven, we're gonna really be able to do our own thing, live life the way that we want to, under the laws of the Most High, the Scriptures. And that goes for the other nations too. They're gonna have to keep the laws and live under our wing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this ain't the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. If you in another country, just stay your ass there. Don't even waste your time trying to come here. You're wasting your time. There's nothing here for you.
Yeah,
There's not even anything here for us.
It's like the stock market. Everybody's looking for the next big thing. Well, that ship already been sailed.
Yeah, trying to get rich quick and all that. That shit is over with. Them days are long gone.
Your last chance was in 2011 when Bitcoin was dirt cheap, but nobody knew about it. Imagine you would have knew about that back then. You'd be a multi-millionaire or a billionaire.
Habakkuk 2 and 7 in the NLT. It says, suddenly your debtors will take action. They will turn on you and take all you have while you stand trembling helpless. Foreclosure, couldn't afford your rent, that was sky high on that interest rate you got it at. You paying $900,000 and you only put down 5%.
Companies is trying to lease their buildings, but nobody's leasing them.
You can't make those car payments no more. You hit a rough patch.
I don't even understand how we come back from this.
You can't, bro. That's what I'm telling you. That's why this shit is over. It's over. It's not even hard to tell.
Shit is over with, man.
Yeah, so suddenly your debtors will take action. They will turn on you and take all you have while you stand trembling and helpless. Because you have plundered many nations, now all the survivors will plunder you. You committed murder throughout the countryside and filled the towns with violence. And this is talking about Esau. It says, what sorrow awaits you who build big houses with money gained dishonestly? You believe your wealth will buy security, putting your family's nest beyond the reach of danger. You see, that's why they go try and get away from, the common folk. That's why they go up in the hills with the rest of the rich people. Or they go into like a secluded land where it's just their house and you don't see another house for miles.
You can't live with them.
Yeah.
They don't want you to live around them. So be that as it may, I don't even understand why you can't just go back to
Segregation.
segregation.
Right. I don't
But
like you. You don't
I
like
know
me.
why they got rid of segregation was because they wanted the black dollar. They didn't want us to like start thinking outside the box and coming together and building our own structure.
Keeping the
We was,
dollar.
we was more inclined to do that
Yeah.
back then with segregation and racism.
Because you could only spend your dollar with your people in your community, and that's how you build, quote unquote, generational wealth. Esau knows that.
Could you imagine if Tulsa, Oklahoma was never touched?
Right.
Just let it flourish. I bet you that would have been like chocolate city.
And there's like multiple Tulsa, Oklahomas, throughout America.
Yeah, and who knows? It could have possibly spread it throughout the U.S. And then Jake would be living better.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But no.
Esau had to step that out.
What does Esau do? He rains on your parade. He gives you drugs. He gives you crooked politicians that he sells you into believing in. That's why we're way past politics. We don't give a damn about this system. We're just waiting for it to crash and burn.
For real. So, Habakkuk 2:10 in the NLT. It says, "But by the murders you committed, you have shamed your name and fortified your lives. They, the very stones in the walls, cry out against you, and the beams in the ceilings echo the complaint. What sorrow awaits you who build cities with money gained through murder and corruption? Has not the Lord of heaven's armies promised that the wealth of nations will turn to ashes? They work so hard, but all in vain." We can stop there.
Yeah, you work so hard, but all in vain. So you can never get ahead in this society.
Bust your ass, work majority of your life, and you don't got nothing to show for it.
Yeah, you work 20 years at a job, 30 years, and you retire. And it's all for what?
Get a gold watch, bullshit watch.
It's all for what? Pay off your mortgage, and then you gotta pay property taxes once you pay off your mortgage. Kids are demons. You didn't have time to raise them. They're all sad and depressed.
Bugged out.
So we've seen how this society has decayed over the years. It hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse. And there's no denying that. But yet you still have people buying into what these politicians believe in every election cycle. You know what I'm saying? But look how that's working. Trump's doing bad with these tariffs. Just wait until you start seeing the effects of that. Prices is going to go up in here a little by little.
That $7 item you used to buying,
It's going to go up by like $3.
yo, that shit gonna hit $11. You're gonna be so thrown off. You gonna have to make life decisions.
I'm like, damn, son, I can't afford this. Can't even afford to eat healthy. So people live like that, man. It's really like in this country, they're getting away from the middle class. The middle class is about to be no more. So it's like you're either gonna have money or you don't have money.
I think that was the whole play with the C whatever, 2020. Like, mom and pop shops, they took the biggest hits. But, the big box stores, they're doing fine. They'll get bailed out because they do business with the government. So they don't really have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, you'll never see like a Walmart fail
A Costco. Costco went out of business in America. Yeah, right.
because they have a monopoly.
Got a preset?
Proverbs 11 and 1.
This is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. It said, "The Lord detests the use of dishonest..." Oh, I was in the NLT. This is Proverbs 11 and 1 in the King James. It says, "A false balance is abomination to the Lord Yahweh, but a just weight is his delight. When pride cometh, then cometh shame. But with lowly is wisdom. But with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them."
So, in this world, in this society, in this country, every everything is out of order. It's not balanced. People clamor about having a work-life balance, but that's really non-existent. Because there's no way that the human being is meant to work 8 hours a day, you know what I'm saying? 5 days a week, sometimes more, you know what I'm saying? And then like have time to themselves,
Right.
have time to develop a family, you know what I'm saying? Because look how it's working, look how that's going.
Once you get out of work, you just be tired. You be through. You don't want to do nothing.
You barely have energy for anything else.
When you feel like cooking.
And then that's not including like, you know, strenuous jobs, you know, jobs that require more like labor at work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's Proverbs 11:4. It says, riches profit not in the day of wrath.
12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah, my little brother, he told me about this.
Oh, okay.
He actually brought me to knowing all this stuff.
Oh, word?
Yeah, he told me that I'm trying to think. I'm the tribe of Judah. My dad's from not very funny, but yeah, he told me that he's the tribe of Judah and we got a little bit of Benjamin in Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaican?
Yeah. I know a lot about it. You know, he sit around, talk for hours, and you know, he talks about the other 13 tribes, you know, and things like that. So yeah, he was really information about everything he told me.
Yeah, this is the greatest knowledge you can have. I'm telling you.
It is.
You don't get better than this.
It's like knowing the truth, the real truth.
Real truth.
I just wanted to stop by and just show y'all some gratitude.
All right.
Really appreciate y'all doing y'all thing.
All right, peace.
All right, peace, brother.
Stay safe. Again, Proverbs 11:4. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. The righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright shall deliver them, but the transgressors shall be taken in their own naughtiness. Continue.
Nah, that's it. I was gonna get the brother a precept.
We still read it.
He spoke his piece.
Still read it.
Matthew 3 and 2.
In Matthew chapter 3, start the first verse. It says, in those days came John the Baptist, preaching in the wilderness of Judah, and saying, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Yeah, so repent means to turn away. And in this case, we're supposed to turn away from this world, turn away from this society, mentally and spiritually.
It says, for this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his path straight. Okay, that was the point.
So like you were saying, like this is the best knowledge that you can have on this earth. It really helps you navigate in this life, in this captivity, while we're here, you know, in the meantime. Because this world is going to pass away soon. You know, this society is going to crumble. And then once that happens, all you're going to have is the truth.
Yeah. Real, for real.
This knowledge.
The brothers, like when you see all the brothers at the camps, when the shit hits the fan and all hell breaks loose, it might just be you by yourself. So that's why it's going to be real important to, you know, rest on the faith in the times that we're entering into. You know, we all going to be tried, you know? This is Romans 13:3. It says, for rulers, let's read in the NLT. This is Romans 13:3 in the NLT. It says, for the authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right, but in those who are doing wrong. It says, would you like to live without fear of the authorities? Do what is right, and they will honor you. The authorities are God's servants, sent for your good. But if you are doing wrong, of course you should be afraid, for they have the power to punish you. They are God's servants sent for the very purpose of punishing those who do what is wrong.
Yeah.
So you must submit to them, not only to avoid punishment, but also to keep a clear conscience. Pay your taxes.
So what's that going into?
Was that-
What's that going into?
Now, I was just talking about, like, like, say for the police, for example, just do what's right. Just, stay on the right path. Don't try and go off. 'Cause they're set up to punish you. They're set up to give you hell. That's their purpose.
Yeah. And also, in other words, don't be like, I forget which Jake it was. Some dude, he was saying how, actually, no, scratch that. I might be mixing up my thoughts. But in other words, don't be out here trying to be like rebellious against this man's system because you're gonna fail every time.
Right.
You know,
If you do what's right, you have nothing to fear.
you gotta pay your taxes.
Right.
If you don't pay your taxes, then what? IRS is gonna get on you, garnish your wages, or you might end up in jail. So that's what that's going into. I know as much as lies in our hearts and as much knowledge that we have, it can be daunting, trying to like comply and remain, level-headed in this system,
We just understand, like, this is not our world. We're under the curses. Like, we just got to do what we got to do. You got to pay your taxes. You make an income, you got to pay your taxes. There's no way around it.
Exactly.
So Romans 13:5 in the NLT, it says, so you must submit to them, not only to avoid punishment, but also to keep a clear conscience. Pay your taxes. 2, for these same reasons. For government workers need to be paid. They are serving God in what they do. Give to everyone what you owe them. Pay your taxes and government fees to those who collect them, and give respect and honor to those who are in authority.
So that's basically an epistle telling you to just stay calm while you're here. Do what you gotta do. Even though it's wrong, we shouldn't be subject to living like this. It's just how it is for now.
Yeah, we under the curses. It is what it is. Bear with me.
How's it go?
I got it. This is Ephesians chapter 2, verse 1. It says, and you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in times past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lusts of our flesh, fulfilling the desire of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. But the Most High, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, he hath quickened us together with Yahushua. It says, by grace ye are saved. And he hath raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Yahushua.
Heavenly places, because it's like when you come into this knowledge, when you channel the Holy Spirit, it's like it takes you into a different zone. Like right now, we're channeling the Holy Spirit. Right? We're in that zone. The water Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? And you start just imagining, the things to come in the future. to us as a people, and the next world will come. And then you can actually picture it in your mind, and it's like you want it so bad, you can't wait to grasp it.
Like imagine a world where like even the 2/3 are just righteous. Like the whole creation is righteous. Like
In the perfect world, there'd be no such thing as tap water,
bottled water.
environmental damage. You know what I'm saying? Because basically in the kingdom of heaven, things is going to go back to how they used to be in the old days. You know? Because how did we get here? We got here through capitalism. Because capitalism came about through the Industrial Revolution. So, in order for people to get rich, typically they had to do what? Step on people's necks.
Sell out.
Yup.
Turning back on the Lord.
And that's what the elites have done. They've committed abominable acts. Just so that they what? Can come up and be the top 1% in this world.
Right.
But it's at the expense of the rest of the world. The rest of the people on this earth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what kind of life is that? We want to live like that. At least when we come into power, we're going to spread our wealth and our prosperity. So clean air for us is going to be clean air for everybody.
Right.
We're going to spread our knowledge.
There's not going to be no forever chemicals in the kingdom. Ephesians 2:7 says that in the ages to come, he might show the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us through Yahushua. Thus, for by grace are ye saved through the faith, and not of yourselves. It is the gift of the Most High.
Yeah, so salvation comes from the Most High through grace. And the Most High is a merciful power. You know, what type of God would the Most High be if hell was an actual real place? You know, it's really a fairy tale the way that the Christians describe it. You know, you die, you go to a place where your soul burns for all eternity. What type of God would that be? You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine that? He sets us up for failure and to live in hell, and then when we die, we go back to hell? Like,
That's a false balance.
yeah, we just read that in Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord. Y'all precept? You want to take us out, or you want to wrap it up?
And you can take it out. Wisdom of Solomon 6. I'll just start the 23rd verse. This is Wisdom of Solomon 6:23. It says, neither will I go with consuming envy, for such a man shall have no fellowship with wisdom. It says, but the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world, and a wise king is the upholding of the people. Receive therefore instruction through my words, and it shall do you good.
Receive instruction from my words, and it shall do you good. So that instruction comes from the Bible. The Bible teaches you how to live, how to eat, and how to conduct yourself as a nation of people. And we've gotten away from that. We honestly have. And that's why in these last days, only a select few are coming back to it, which is the elect. You know, we can't save every Israelite. That's just the reality. You know, every Israelite in America is not going to make it.
And in the kingdom of heaven, the Bible is going to be the instructions. Because, you know, here in America, there's laws set in place that go against the scriptures. Like, it's just total free-for-all here. But in the kingdom of heaven, the Bible is going to be, you know, what governs the entire world. So you can't go wrong with the Bible. Like, there's no time where I ever read the Bible or I tried to apply some wisdom from the Bible and I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't a good idea. The whole world is going to be better off when we're in rulership.
I'm trying to think. I don't think there's ever a scenario when that's happened to me.
Yeah, it's not real. Like,
You know,
if
you come into this truth, it's like things open up for you.
right.
gives you an explanation as to why things are the way they are in this world, and how you can maneuver and manage through life. You know?
What you could expect in this world and what we got coming to us, you know?
So that's just about it.
Yeah, that's it on that.
So with that, shalom.
Shalom.